I remember I started to walk as I could see the place. It was literally like 2 blocks down. And I remember Brent saying, take my car. And I'm like, I can walk. He's like, no, here are my keys, take my car. You're not walking. Because the protest is going on downtown. Then we're just standing there talking. All of a sudden, we heard a bunch of pops. And Chris and I looked at each other and we're like, firecrackers? And then we heard them again. And it's like, nope. So him and I start running towards El Centro, and which was towards the gunfire. We start running, and then we make it across the tracks, and I make it, I don't know, maybe a half a block. Felt a pop in my arm. Felt like somebody had frogged my arm. And I remember I couldn't lift up my arm. It was just kind of hanging there. So I knew something was wrong, and I remember looking up. I felt like, even though that one light was there, I felt like I was in the middle of a baseball field or a football field when it's all lit up. And I remember like shaking my head, and I'm like, no, I'm not going. I'm not going. Obviously, they could see my arm. Like when I walked in, I think I surprised everybody because I literally walked in the hospital.
There's a narcotics detective. She walked into the ER room where you were, and she remembers them taking off your dark shirt, and then she sees Wonder Woman on your vest. And she said, at that moment, she realized this lady's a beast. She's going to be fine.
You're listening to the ATO Bridging the Divide podcast, brought to you by the Assist Officer Foundation. Since 1999, the ATO has given assistance to the first responder community, and now we want to give a platform to hear their incredible stories. We also want to hear the stories of the many people that support us. Our community is small, but it is strong. We have differences. We don't always agree, and we all make mistakes. But together we can grow, we can heal, and we can learn from those mistakes. And together we can bridge the divide.
It is my pleasure and great honor to welcome our next guest to today's Bridging the Divide podcast. She spent almost 10 years with DART Police. Currently, she's with Garland ISD. She is mother to 3 very small dogs, an incredible mother to a sweet daughter, Hunter. Yeah, to a human being, your daughter, and volleyball mom. It's my great honor to welcome on Misty McBride. Misty, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Misty, I've been nervous all week about to talk with you. I've never met you before today. I've low-key stalked your story through social media and the Facebook for years. We all know the incident that you were a part of, but that incident doesn't define you as a person or as a professional. And that's what I want to hear more of that story today. Okay? But I have a very personal question for you, and I've been kind of nervous about asking it all night. I didn't sleep last night because of this.
Probably best you don't ask.
No, I've cleaned it up.
Okay, good.
I've cleaned it up.
You made it radio safe?
Well, we can edit. We may have to do a lot of bleeping. So I know you're a Wonder Woman fan.
I am.
Okay.
Actually, I have Wonder Woman on my vest.
I've seen that picture when I was Facebook stalking you. I saw that. So this is the personal question. Uh-huh. Why do you have that look? Okay. Are you ready? And if it offends you, just please tell me, and we'll edit it out. And Danny Canetti does our sound. He will take this out, and it's like I didn't even ask it. Taking off the hair tie.
I'm getting reset here.
Oh, the hair's coming down.
Yeah.
This is like a
right.
This is like
the icebreaker here.
I know, like a 2-minute intro to a question. I'm getting kind of scared now.
All right, we're ready.
Let's go.
Linda Carter or Gal Gadot?
Oh, I would say Linda. I've met her.
Wow. Okay.
I was actually invited to go see her in concert, and met her and hung out with her. So that was really cool. But I mean, she's the original. That's who I grew up with.
I grew up with her too.
I know,
But you've seen the new movies, right?
Oh yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not, she's a badass. I mean, Godot, she is a badass, but it's an original. I like the original.
I did too. I just had to ask you that.
Yes.
I've had a lot of restless nights thinking about who you were going to say. I kind of thought you were going to say Linda Carter.
You don't sleep over not knowing who I'm going to pick.
No, I was thinking about Gal Gadot. I couldn't sleep for that, but all right.
You grew up watching Chips, right?
Yes, she's an avid Chips fan.
Oh my gosh, that's.
Well,
Oh, yes.
I have to ask then, the blonde or the brunette? Oh,
Oh,
it's tough.
it is. Brunette.
Why?
Because
Okay.
it's
Oh.
it's kind of
That
one of those
Oh, fair enough. All right.
unknown
Swagger.
rules.
All right, so we broke the ice with Wonder Woman talk and Chips talk. Other than Chips, why did you decide to get into law enforcement?
I know it's like the common thing. You always want to help people, but I do. I want to help, and I want to try to make a difference. There's a lot of. We grew up in a different era, and everything's different. But just wanting to help people and try to make a difference, and going home after that shift, and if you made a difference in one person, then that means a lot. And then being on DART, you saw a lot of kids. Because on the trains and stuff. So when you see a little kid and they run up to you and they hug you and want a picture and a sticker, and that, it gives you that little, that good feeling that you actually did something. Or if you help somebody that, doesn't have a job and you got them food for that day, or helped them get a job or a lead or something, then, they come back and tell you, hey, Miss McBride, this is what I did. Then, it's that warm, fuzzy feeling you get.
How old were you when you started law enforcement?
33. I was in the academy at 33.
What drew you to DART? Was that the only department you applied for when you first got in?
Well, I worked at Dallas County Jail, so
Okay.
I got to see people coming in a lot, and the DART headquarters was right next door.
Okay.
So I went in and applied over there. I did apply at Dallas.
Okay.
I could not. Back then, I got disqualified because I couldn't do a push-up. Because if nobody else can see me, but if you look at me and I do a push-up, then, my chest is obviously going to hit the ground, and so I got disqualified for that.
I have been keeping my eyes up, so I have not noticed. I don't know anything you're talking
You don't know
about.
what I'm talking. I know.
I have not read what your shirt says. Your shirt says, "Never underestimate a woman defender," and I'm glad you wore that today. I mean, it embodies who you are. Okay, we're gonna get into more of your story of why I believe that. What was your favorite part of working for DART? Other than just the helping the people, and when you're working for DART, you have a variety of people. There's just a hodgepodge of different kind of people, age groups, demographics that are coming through there,
Hey,
right in the heart of downtown.
I think real quick before we do that, can you go ahead and describe what DART is? We have a lot of listeners from different
Yes.
areas, and they're hearing DART and they have no clue as to what we're talking about. It'd probably clear up a lot before you go into all
Yeah,
that.
because he's right. Because we were finding out recently that we actually have listeners out of the state and actually out of the country listening, downloading us, and they're not going to understand really what DART is, and as a department. So would you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
And it probably would clear up a bunch of people who actually live in Dallas who still don't know what DART is.
It's good. Yeah.
It's actually Dallas Area Rapid Transit, and they handle all the trains, all the buses from all over Dallas. They go all the way up to Carrollton now, down to South Dallas to Buckner, to the airport, to Love Field and DFW now, all the way to downtown Rowlett, up to Plano. And it's and then anywhere any of the buses go on any of the side streets. And so the officers cover the buses, the trains, basically like, because with the city department, you go to a house if you have a disturbance. DART, you go to the bus, the train, that train station, that bus stop that's in the middle of nowhere, and handle whatever the call is.
And there's a variety of calls. When I was out working in South Dallas, we had to cover DART quite a bit because fights, people fighting on the train, the buses, and the train, and have to go out and break that up. And there's also a lot of drug running that goes on. People use the DART buses and trains to transport dope around because a lot of our introduction guys they deal with that.
Yeah, plus it's a quick escape. There's a lot of
Yep.
people that commit some violent crimes. That's the first thing they see is the DART bus. They come down the road there, and they're probably a user of the DART bus and the transit, so it's real quick for them to hop on that and leave. And I think most people need to understand your jurisdiction as a DART officer rolls in many different areas, right? So you're working with many different police departments. I'm assuming that if you guys had a burglary in one of the parking lots up there, like in Plano, the one off the toll road, you guys are the ones that manage all that type of stuff up there for the vehicles, or is it just the property, or is it just the transit itself?
It's the officers handle that, and a lot of times if we are like further south and we can't get up there, we would call Plano or Richardson, call Dallas, whoever, to go up there and help. To help. Hey, can we get somebody on this call? If somebody have somebody's car or a fight, or somebody got their bike stolen. So we worked really well with all the departments. And then, like, I remember sometimes somebody would commit a crime in Dallas, and then there's the bus. They run and jump on the bus. Well, they get the bus number, so we call. We go and corner the bus, and I guess people don't understand the bus is going to stop. So once they stop, and then you have all the DART and Dallas officers standing around, I guess you would think they'd figure out, well, we shouldn't do this, or they would jump on a train and try to make it up to North Dallas. Well, we have officers up in North Dallas or South Dallas,
Right.
wherever they went, waiting on them, and they come off. We're like, come with us.
They don't realize that they think there's a straight shot to Mexico and they're going to be free. It's going to be nonstop shuttle. Yeah.
They think we don't talk to each other, so.
No, we don't have radios.
Yeah.
Well, how would we?
No.
Yeah, we have to get online and in AOL Messenger somebody down south to come get them.
Yeah. Or hope you have a working radio.
Yeah, well, that's another issue altogether. Y'all went to Glocks. Y'all had Glocks for the longest time before our department went to Glocks. Because I remember covering some DART officers in South Dallas, and I was jealous they had Glocks, and we couldn't have them yet.
Oh, you should be glad you didn't.
No, I mean our SIGs are pretty nice too, though.
Yeah.
Other than the people, what was your favorite part of working there? And what are some of the craziest things you've seen? And we're going to get into one crazy thing, but prior to that,
the working with the officers, that was a big thing that really hurt when I left. Because you get to know people. I mean, you have people and I'm sure it's the same way here, at Dallas. You have people are in people's weddings. Kids grow up together. Kids do sports together and camps, and whenever there's a function or something's at somebody's house, or all the guys will do fantasy football. So you had all the kids, and they would go on hunting trips, or they'd go out. So it was like a big family. So I mean, I love that part, and then just helping the people because it's what I wanted to do.
right?
Do you have something that sticks in your mind that you remember, an incident? Not the incident we're going to talk about here, but like something that sticks in your mind besides that, doing police work, or even as a jailer at DSO.
There's always something crazy going on at DSO.
What sticks in your mind?
Oh my gosh. I mean, at the jail, the people there, they were pretty calm, but every once in a while somebody would get mad because there was, they didn't get enough potato salad or something. So
Potato salad.
yes,
I
mean
would
it's
too.
Man,
you
that's a
know,
breaker.
I mean,
Piss me
it's
off.
yeah, it's a good jailed potatoes. I mean, it was something so simple like that, and then next thing I know, because I'm the one who was standing there when they got their tray, I've got somebody throwing a cup of urine on me or something, or cussing me out and telling me they're gonna wait for me outside, and I'm like, I'll be back in 8 hours. Don't worry.
You're like, well, I'm not bringing potato salad outside with me,
I'm
so
not.
you're still gonna be pissed
Yeah,
off.
you're still gonna be pissed because you're not getting anything.
Right.
That was kind of the tedious stuff. But I mean, on the streets, there was just, seeing, I guess, what people are doing, like, huge drug,
Yeah.
especially downtown, tons of drugs, and just seeing people do stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, why are you going to do that? Because you're going to get high, you're going to pass out. The person that sold that to you is fixing to steal all your stuff. And then you're going to get up, you're going to have no drugs, you're going to be hungover, and all your stuff's gone.
I don't think they think that far ahead whenever they're they're sticking that needle in their arm or snorting or whatever. Sadly.
Yeah, it's like, and then they go back and they do it again. Because they
Oh, yeah.
beg,
Well,
they get that dollar, and they go get that next hit, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll see you in 20 minutes again.
Well, that's the endless wheel of drug addiction, and we've all seen it. All of us in this room we've done police work, and we're working in Dallas. That's probably one of the biggest problems in Dallas is drugs. Dallas is a big hub that's right north of Mexico. A lot of the drugs come straight from Mexico to Dallas. Then it goes out to Chicago, Atlanta, and they're all across the country. And the DART rail and the DART buses they're a big courier for the narcotics.
Oh yeah, it's I guess because you see it every day, you don't really think about it. But I know whenever whatever station, everything was usually in downtown because everybody could get together at all the stations down there. But you really see it whenever the guys get on with the canines, and all of a sudden, West End is everybody stop on the train. Well, then when the train started, dogs come off. But no, what are you doing? And they're, we're like, what are you doing? Well, because the dogs are there, and well, what's in your pocket? And they pull out and they go, okay, why don't you just hang out right there then? And
Yeah.
I know there's tons of times we would get stuff, and we got to work real close with the bike guys down there for Dallas and all the I guess the foot patrols and stuff. So we'd call them up, hey, can you come over here? We found this, and we would try to work with the other guys to hopefully close out some stuff. But it's when you see all the how much drugs there are down there, it's unreal. And it's we're like, well, it's not us and it's not them, but with if you can jump on a train and move it fast, then that's kind of what they did.
Like Josh said, that escape route that's one of the quickest and easiest escape routes to jump on because not many people buy tickets. They don't have to. They just jump on and take off.
They do, and they'll ride. They know, and they know who will stop them, and they know how far they can get. So when you start yelling tickets, they're like, I forgot it.
Right.
Or they start looking for it, and they're grabbing every pocket and stuff. I'm like, dude, if you don't have it, just tell me. I don't got time.
Yeah.
They're like, I meant to get off the train. Or they'll see you, and they'll say at the next stop, you got everybody's trying to get off the train right then and go. I'm like, go away.
All right, Misty. I want to bring you back to a certain night in your shift and when you were with DART PD. And this is probably what's kept me up more during the week, not being able to sleep, is how to discuss this incident, not Gal Gadot. That's another story. So I want to take you back to July 7th, 2016. And I just want you to kind of tell the listener how that night went from your perspective and explain your involvement in that night.
Let's see. Well, it was pretty much like the day was pretty much a normal day. And then they started getting later. Normally I would have gotten off at 9 that night. That was our shift, 1 to 9. And It was, I don't know, 7:30 maybe. Excuse me. And we were kind of winding down, and I'm like, I'm hungry. So I already called my partner. She was right down the road, and we were going to go eat. And I remember I started to walk as I could see the place. It was literally like 2 blocks down. And I remember Brent saying, take my car. And I'm like, I can walk. He's like, no, here are my keys. Take my car. You're not walking. Because the protest is going on downtown. And I guess he thought maybe I'd get lost or something. But I remember telling him, he's like, take my car. I'm like, well, you may need it because a call might happen. No, take my car. I go, I can walk. We literally fought for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I'm not that much of a fat ass. I can walk 2 blocks down to go eat. And I'm like, it was Chinese food, so I'd be hungry again.
True.
And I remember he gave me his car, so I drove down. And, to get like 2 blocks straight down, I had to drive, like 6 blocks around downtown to get down there. And went down and ate with my partner. And then when we finished, we walked outside, and we were standing there. And she was smoking a cigarette, and we could see the protesters going. We could hear our people, our sergeant on the radio talking about stuff and kind of giving a heads up where everybody was. And then I got a text saying that we needed to stay till like 10 o'clock that night. We need to stay an extra hour because of the protest. So I got in the car and I drove it back down to the West Transfer Center. And because Brent had texted me and said, hey, I'm over here, just bring the car here. So I drove it around, I parked it, and I went inside. And my mom had been texting me saying, there's protesters downtown. So, I'm like, really? Gee, thanks, Mom. So I called her back, and I'm like, you know what? My phone is at 4%. I'm going to charge it. I have to stay till 10 tonight, so I'll be there a little bit later, but everything's good. And I remember I walked in. We had like a little police room within the transfer center, and I walked in, and I plugged in my phone, and Brent was there on the phone talking with his wife, Emily. And I threw him the keys, and I'm like, hey, I want to need a ride in because I have no car. And he's like, okay. And I was like, is that Emily? He said, yeah. I was like, I love you, jokingly. And I walked out one that way, and then Brent walked out the other door. And my partner I was with that night, Chris, Brent got in his car and drove off, and we walked down to the corner, and we were just standing there next to the stop sign, talking to the patrons down there and about all the stuff that's going on. And we were actually talking about the MLK protests and stuff, how they kind of differ from then to now. And then we're just standing there talking. All of a sudden, we heard a bunch of pops. And Chris and I looked at each other, and we're like, is that firecrackers? And then we heard them again, and it's like, nope. So him and I start running towards El Centro, which was towards the gunfire. And then we're telling everybody else to get out of there, to get back. And we start running. And then we make it across the tracks, and I make it, I don't know, maybe a half a block. And then felt a pop in my arm. Like when you're little kids and you kind of frog somebody. I feel like somebody had frogged my arm, and then they had a lighter and was holding it up against it.
Misty, where are you at right now? Where, not here personally, but that night, where were you at when you first started feeling that? Do you remember the location? It
was Rosa Parks Plaza. It's like Elm and Lamar, where the little buses pick up and stuff. We were actually running across that because we had to run across the train tracks. And then we were about halfway in the plaza whenever I got hit.
So when you got hit, you said there was it felt like getting frogged, and there was a burning feeling. And then when did you realize that something's not right here?
Whenever, because it was burning, and like that location, it's a major intersection, but there's like one street light, so it's super, super dark. And I remember I couldn't lift up my arm. It was just kind of hanging there, but I could move my fingers, so I knew something was wrong. And I remember looking up, And I felt like, even though that one light was there, I felt like I was in the middle of a baseball field or a football field when it's all lit up. And I remember like shaking my head, and I'm like, no, I'm not going. I'm not going. And I turned around and threw myself on the ground. And when I looked up, there's a bronze statue of Rosa Parks. And I remember I started crawling to it because in my mind I'm thinking I'm getting behind that statue because Rosa's going to save my ass. Because I don't care what's coming at me, nothing's getting through that statue.
Right.
And then when I started crawling, my partner, Chris, he came up and I just saw these massive calves in like, I don't know, size 18 shoes in front of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, Chris, there's something wrong. And he helped me up. And then, training kicked in. Got off the X. We ran around the corner, got away from the gunfire. And then he sees my arm. So he's putting pressure on it, telling me it's going to hurt. I'm still yelling at people to get out of there. Trying to get everybody away. And then you got a train stop there. So you got everybody on the train staring at us. I'm still trying to tell everybody to get away. People are stopping. They're seeing it's me, and there's something wrong with me, so they're trying to help. We're kicking everybody out. And then another officer comes up, and I pull out my tourniquet out of my pocket and throw it at him, and I'm like, put it on. And they're staring at me, so I'm literally putting on my own tourniquet. And Chris is trying to pull it up and tighten it, and I'm still yelling at people. I usually wear my contacts, but that night I had my glasses on. I lost my glasses. I couldn't see. I couldn't hear. Great, my allergies are kicking in now. Damn it. It truly is allergies.
No, to the listener, it is allergies. Yes, she's doing great.
And I threw it at him, and then so he's putting it on. He's trying to tighten it up, and I'm yelling at people. And then we see a squad car come up. And then they're like, okay, let's go. That's us. So that's when we start moving over to the car to try to get me to the hospital.
Okay. Was it a Dallas squad car or was it a Dart?
It was a Dart. It was actually my partner I had just finished eating dinner with.
Okay. And they put you in the back of the car and then drove you to the...
No, actually, one of the guys, he opened up the front door, and just like a habit thing, because our gear's in the front, he picked up the go bag and put it in the back seat, and then I sat in the front seat.
Okay.
And it was weird because he's like, wait. And I know nobody could see me doing this. I just threw my hand up, so I feel stupid.
No, you're fine.
But I'm like, he's like, hold on. So he picks up the bag, throws it in the back seat, and then I get in the front seat. And they shut the door, and then we start going. And my partner was telling me, she's like, where do I go? I'm like, the hospital. Take me away.
Yeah.
And so she was driving, trying to cut through. And I'm 6 foot. And she's probably 5'8".
Right.
So we're sitting in the car. I'm all the way back, and she's way up. Her seat's up forward. So every time we'd hit a light, you have to stop and clear the intersection. Well, every time she would stop, she pulled this mama thing to where you're going to save your child.
Right.
So every time she did that, because of our different size differences, she kept hitting my arm.
Oh.
So we pull it to a light. Every light was red, and she hits my arm. I scream. She goes. She lets go. I quit screaming. We hit the next light. She hits my arm. I scream. And that goes on for 3 or 4 lights because evidently she can't figure out, quit hitting my arm. Quit trying to save me. I'm not going anywhere. And so we're doing that all the way through. And she's like, I'm trying to hurry. And I'm like, just quit grabbing my arm. So then we figure it out, and the whole time she's like, where do I go? I'm like, the hospital. I'm like, go straight. Go straight.
She's caught in that hulu.
Yeah, she kept
trying to process
doing
the whole entire thing, trying to get you somewhere. At that point, how many times had you been shot?
At that point, I knew of one.
You knew your arm was hurting.
Yeah, I knew something was wrong with my arm because I couldn't move it. But that's only one that we actually knew where I got hit.
So which hospital did you guys end up at?
Baylor downtown.
And then at what point did you learn about your other injuries?
When we got in, they took me in and started. Obviously, they could see my arm. Like when I walked in, I think I surprised everybody because I literally walked in the hospital. And I was the first one there.
That's what I was going to ask you. You were probably one of the very first people to start arriving.
Yeah. We got there and we were the first one because when we got out, I was getting out of the car and Stacy came around to open up the door, and then I got out and I started walking, and when she shut the door, a Dallas squad pulled up right behind, and so she got trapped back there, and I walked in and found a nurse, and she's like, "Come with me," and it never fails. I find the shortest nurse at a hospital,
Right.
and so we go, and then I've got every nurse, and then and you can hear a bunch of commotion, and then once they started getting me settled, I could see people coming in, still didn't know what was going on, and one of the guys that had helped some of the Dallas, they were bringing the Dallas in because I think Brent was there by now, and Aaron's had come in. I think he came in with Aaron's, and he saw me, and he's like, "Okay, Misty's okay because she's cussing." So apparently, I was being very vocal at everybody, and then they started to work on me. So they started cutting off my my outer shirt, and the nurse, and I've got my Stacy's over there trying. I'm like, "Call my mom." I said, "Call my mom. I do not want her seeing this on TV because if she does, she's gonna kick my ass. I'm scared of my mom." And so they cut off my unit, cut off my shirt, took off my vest, cut off my undershirt, and then that's whenever the doctor saw another bullet laying on my abdomen.
Yeah, she before we started recording, she showed us a picture of her abdomen at that time, and it went in between it went through the vest and in and out of the front of your abdomen. Is that correct?
Yeah, he just went through like the fatty part.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor said it was probably about a millimeter away from going into the muscle, and then that would have torn everything up in there.
There's a narcotics detective. You probably don't even remember Norma Masu. She walked into the ER room where you were, and all she said she could remember. There's people around you, and she remembers them taking off your dark shirt, and then she sees Wonder Woman on your vest, and she said at that moment she realized this lady's a beast. She's going to be fine.
And I didn't even know that. That's pretty awesome. I didn't. Yeah, because I had my little Wonder Woman, so I still got it on mine today.
I've seen
new
pictures.
one.
I'm going to be posting pictures of you in that.
Misty, it draws me back. I was in SWAT then. I was a team leader in that building. I remember arriving there. I remember getting Mike Smith and the rookie off the street, driving the APC to draw fire. At that point, the guy had reached the height of the building up there. He'd been in the building. People kept saying he was in a parking garage. He smashed out the windows upstairs and was shooting down on the officers there, demolished that 7-Eleven. I remember dropping them off and then still driving to draw that fire, picked up a few more people that needed the shield in there, and then walking in that building, and it was chaotic in that sense. I mean, we all shared the same radio channel for us. I don't even know if you guys have the capability with these radios to pick up our traffic. I'm sure you guys have some type of Interpol capability.
No, we just like that that night we would have like one of our guys would try to be with some Dallas. That way you could get our transmission because we had both our sergeants at y'all's command post. So we were just trying that way because that's the only way we found out what was going on with y'all.
I'm sure this elicits something inside you. Obviously, you suffered injuries from it. It elicits a lot from me, just hearing your story, because that's why I asked where you were. I try and piece it together for each person I've talked to about it, which isn't many. Trying to piece that together as to where that guy was moving to and from. You were shot 4 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I see your radio right here. The listeners obviously can't see it, but she brought in her patrol radio here. And that's a 7.62 round coming through this thing. How that did not keep going. Yeah, I mean, just the items in here are just insane. You're so fortunate that those are the injuries that you received. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here to tell that story. It's it's one of those things. It's gut wrenching just thinking about it. Of course, I look at it from a different perspective. My role in that was different, but I just can't imagine. When it first started down there, we were wanting to be on standby for that, and we're denied. So as a supervisor, I have a lot of angst about that entire operation, that where it's at. Of course, there's a lot of guys over there that feel like we could have been there to help do some other things, but I think hearing that you knew what to do, right? That guy was all over the place. I still remember when I left the building, stepping over all the mags that guy had dropped and the ammo all over the freaking place. Of course, people's blood and body matter and stuff like that. But yeah, it's I'm very happy to hear that your training kicked in, especially the tourniquet piece you happened to do yourself. I think that night was if you hadn't trained for such a situation, we had Jude Braun over there would always hit us up with these active shooter scenarios and these bombs and all this crazy stuff, and just very fortunate that we had the training that we had. And I don't know to what extent you had training or some of the other individuals out there, but knowing that you need to provide yourself self-aid and you're capable of doing that, capable of getting off the X, capable of having the faculty to actually seek cover, at the same time being concerned with the general public, taking that selfless act to try and help yourself and help your fellow officer, but help the community that's there they have no utilities to defend themselves against an individual such as that. I really don't know where I'm going with this, but I guess I'd kind of like to hear what type of training had you guys received? Is that something that you just had instinctively inside you? Or is that something, I know you're a mother, were you a single mom at the time?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so your daughter was 10 at the time so I know I'm not a mother, but as a parent, you have an instinct to protect your own children, right? That gives you a little bit more desire to survive and move, right? But is there any type of training that you guys had received? Or is there something that you had? Is there something from your past that allowed you to think that? You talk about these other officers who were in an OODA loop. They were stuck in this thing trying to process, orient, decide, and act to go through this whole entire process, and they're getting stuck halfway through it, and then coming right back to the beginning. They come back to the beginning. No fault to the officer trying to get you to the hospital, but where do you want me to go? To the hospital. Where do you want me to go? To the hospital. And there's a lot for people to digest out there. The screaming, the gunfire, the radio chatter. I mean, it was nuts out there. I can't imagine being shot and trying to manage that at the same time. But back to where I was. Is there any type of training or what provided you with that ability to think like that in that situation?
Our training, of course, it's not near as extensive as probably any other department. We would, because we did deal with the buses and trains, we were trained in some active shooter training, but it was ours is all on a bus. So if somebody had a gun on a bus, then that's what we're trying to find the gun quickly and take care of it, or if there's an active shooter on a train car. But we did when we would qualify, we would do some training. But I mean, it's when you're in the academy, you're taught this will happen. You get hurt. If you're going to shoot, so if you're going to get shot at, they're just going to keep shooting there. So you need to move to, obviously not get hit. But that training, and then the just remembering, I guess maybe it's that mom instinct, kicking in. There's just a human instinct. I'm getting shot at. I need to move. I gotta get out of here. And I had other people around me, so I'm trying to get all them too. But like SWAT training or anything, we didn't have that. We've done some building searches and stuff, but not near to, in my mind, not near what we would need for something of that caliber.
Now you're no longer with DART, correct?
Correct.
Were you with DART after that? After you came back from your injuries?
I was out for about a year with therapy, and then I came back for about a year, and then I had to have another surgery, actually a back surgery, because of that. And then I was being told I was going back downtown, and I wasn't ready to go back downtown. So I'm like, okay. So I left. I'm actually, and then I had already talked with the school district. So I talked with them, and then I'm actually still reserving up at Tom Bean Police Department, just by Sherman. So I'm still active.
So
just not there.
one last question on that piece would be, I guess where I'm going with that is, and maybe you know and maybe you don't know, has the implementation of any other type of training to better prepare your people downtown, especially DART officers, who realizing that you guys have your reaches are way out into the suburbs and so on and so forth, right? But the real congestion piece is downtown, right?
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah.
Have you guys had, do you know if there's any training that has been put together, implemented? Have you guys been given an opportunity or afforded an opportunity to go elsewhere to get that training to better prepare yourself for a situation such as an active shooter?
I know they've done, because it was when I was doing my rehab, they did active shooter training where it was actually out, on like a dart field or something, where there was stuff where you had to go in your teams, dealing with vehicles, dealing with different obstacles. And at the actually, when we went and qualified, they started doing it to where, you're just walking down the street and all of a sudden, like, okay, there's gunfire. Then you have to break off. And so now you're responsible for you. And then you have your partner and you're having to work with, and it splits up every time. So you have to learn how everybody works. So I actually did that with a qualify. And then they did the other active shooter training at different locations. That way, because obviously it's not just on a bus or a train. It's happened in the middle of the street. So they did. I don't know what they do now, but I know that they were starting it. I know they have a rifle. They have a rifle program now. They're allowing officers to carry rifles.
Good.
Misty, were you the most senior there that night?
No. On the side I was on, I had 2 rookie officers with me.
And I understand in May you went through some kind of self-aid, buddy aid training.
Yes, yeah. One of the officers taught the self-aid buddy aid, and which is what we all had to go through, and learned that. And then actually after that, I went out and bought my tourniquet.
So you guys weren't issued tourniquets at that time?
Correct.
Okay, so tell me about now. Do DART officers carry tourniquets?
They do now, because when I was laying in my hospital bed, the lady who handles tourniquets at Baylor, little bitty lady, jumped on my bed and got in my face. Said, "You the one that had the tourniquet?" So of course I'm gonna say yes, because she's scaring me. And
is that the same one that cut off your $50 bra?
No, that's a different doctor that cut off my $50 bra.
Okay.
This was I call her the tourniquet lady.
Never wear those to work.
Yeah.
I know you can't. I'm like. I mean, we fought about that for like 5 minutes. I was very upset with him.
I'm wearing one now.
Ooh, I'm gonna cut it off.
Damn, that
Fingers are crossed.
But now, because I had my tourniquet on and I used it, the Baylor, Scott and White, they actually donated tourniquets to the DART officers since we didn't have any. So every DART officer was issued a tourniquet, and nurses and doctors. Actually, my doctor, who was is actually the #1 gunshot wound doctor in Texas, he would go there and teach them how to use a tourniquet, so they were properly trained. And I think until now they still get, I'm assuming now when the officers come in, they still get tourniquets.
You mentioned that you had the gunshot wound doctor, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the other doctor that pretty much reconstructed your arm.
Oh, he's the #1, I think, arm doctor in Texas also, and he had to put the bone together. I have a metal plate and 11 screws in my arm. I've got 20 stitches. So yeah, he basically had to try to connect what muscle, bone, tissue, everything, to kind of make me look like I have an arm again.
And then a year later, you did a boxing match, right? In the Guns and Hoses event.
Yeah.
1 year after this event. Do I understand that correctly?
That's correct. I think it was 3 days after I got released back to full duty. I went to David Swavey over Guns and Hoses, and I gave him a paper. I said, I want to fight. He's like, you're not released. I said, here you go. So they got me set up, and like with Guns and Hoses, it's fire versus police.
Sure.
Well, there's not a whole lot of, I guess, 6 foot, 240-pound female firefighters out there. So I ended up, we did like a kind of a charity match, and I ended up fighting a Garland SRO.
Okay.
So we had our 3 rounds of hell.
Was that healing for you?
It was. It was and actually the night I fought, they were remembering all of the fallen. So they had a huge, it was a huge event. I had one of my old sergeants at DART. She put the names of the fallen, of the 5, on the back of my jersey, my boxing jersey. So it was a very emotional and very healing night. It really helped me a lot.
Real quick, I want to introduce child abuse detective Kristen Green. She's been sitting in with us, and she's got a question for you.
Misty, you kind of talked about your physical recovery from everything. And then, of course, you always are going to have your mental health recovery. And in this situation, you're pretty much talking worst case scenario. I mean, every factor that goes into having any kind of post-traumatic stress after this is kind of what you went through. You're going through loss. You're going through an injury. You're out of work. So what did you do during this to help you recover? And do you feel like what kind of worked for you, what didn't work for you, and what do you feel like you would have done differently?
Well, right after I went to they set me up to go see the psychologist. And so I did my little 6 sessions, and then she said, okay, you're good to go. No restrictions, go back to the streets. And I'm like, okay, I'm not really, but I guess I didn't answer the questions correctly or incorrectly enough or something. But then actually my daughter reached out to me. We talked some. I said, do you want to talk to somebody? And she said, yeah. So I found a lady that was close to the house, and she started talking with her, and then I continued mine because I'm like, I don't need to go back because I'm coming into work on light duty, but it's still hitting me. And then with people coming up asking questions and stuff, I knew I wasn't ready to go back. So I started talking with her, and but like other than talking with them, I pretty much isolated myself. There were friends, family would come up, and they would, of course, everybody had to drive me around. So we'd go places, but it was kind of like a quick little, hey, how you doing? And then I wanted to go away. So I was talking with her. We still stay in contact. About every 6 months, I'll get an email, hey, how y'all doing? My daughter, she'll email her, okay, we're good, or, I'm like, I'm good. I've been doing this. She asked me, if I've seen anybody. But I didn't see, I guess I wish I would have kind of, not asked for help, but asked for help. You're the big badass cop. Everybody's looking at you like, oh my gosh, you survived. You did this. So it's like, okay, I can't ask for help because then I'm going to look, horrible. But I kind of wish I would have reached out maybe a little more, maybe a different avenue, not so professional maybe. Or talk to a professional, but kind of like this, just kind of sitting and chatting kind of thing. But I didn't really. Now I'm kind of seeking more help, more, meeting more people, doing more things. I'm kind of getting that avenue opened up to where we're here if you need something. But I kind of wish maybe that was available more back then when it happened.
I noticed, because I've been working in mental health for a while, and I noticed that up until that incident, cops really didn't talk about mental health. It was never a conversation that they wanted to have. It was really uncomfortable. And it wasn't until after that that cops, it really became sort of a more normalized conversation. It's still not super comfortable for a lot of cops to have. But Dallas kind of looked at it and thought, okay, this is going to be an issue. We need to see what we can do for officers. They actually did try to like get officers help. Did DART have anything for you guys, or do you feel like they would have been receptive if you had said you needed help?
They didn't really push. They had the, like the general right after the incident. They had people come out and try to talk. But of course, then nobody wanted to talk. Mm-hmm. And because everybody wants to talk to you, and you're like, I don't want to talk. I'm done. I'm tired. I don't want to do this. But they didn't really kind of push it. They had the psychologist that I guess was the one that they send everybody to for stuff. And I remember I went out. They sent me out there, and because I wasn't ready to go back downtown. And everybody understood that. But when they sent me out there, she's like, well, you're not fit for duty. So DART said you're not fit for duty. So I'm like, okay. So they sent me. So then, I'm like, well, I'm not going to talk to anybody because I don't want to, I'm already not fit for duty, so I don't want to talk to anybody now. So that's kind of shut down. But they didn't really push anything. Like I know Dallas did for their people. And, ATO reached out and helped, but it's in my mind. I'm like, hey, this, I don't want to reach out. DART's not helping. I don't really want to reach out to another department because it's still that kind of, macho kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think up to that point, just like she said, that we really don't know how to deal with it, right? I'm glad to hear the ATO did. That was going to be my question, where some other assistance would have come from. Obviously, since July 7th, the amount of money that's spent on emotional support, counseling for officers, their families, firefighters, has been astronomical, right? I don't remember the exact numbers for the following year or in that year in general as we posed into 2017, but it was pretty high. I guess my question is, I know you talk about hunting a lot. Mm-hmm. So what you use as an outlet now, is that kind of one of your outlets now to get outdoors and be with your daughter and go to these other ranches and so on and so forth? Is that helping?
That does. And actually, the group that I do, because it was, a lady, her husband did it for veterans and officers, and she wanted to do it for females. So that kind of helps as an athlete and an outlet, because you're with other female officers and other female military that have been through similar situations. Every single one of us hasn't been in the same one, but they that helps us. And then January, I was actually fortunate to be able to take my daughter with me, and they, I was like, if I can't, then I can't come because I have to do this. So she enjoyed it. So that's like our new thing now, and she's all excited. And she's the little country hunting girl at school, and so yeah, she's like, I need camo. So she goes in the closet and gets our little camo and stuff. So she's already ready, and that, I think that kind of helps her too, because she's with other adults that she can talk to that are female. Mm-hmm. That can say, oh yeah, your mom did this, and she knows what they all did. So I think it's kind of a good outlet for both of us.
Have you been able to talk to your partner from that night about it, or even you talked about Chris? And I know that, as officers, we really feel responsible and close to our partners. That's a really important relationship. But I know that if you weren't the one that injured, sometimes it's hard for officers to talk about whether they may have struggled that night as well, because they feel like they're not they feel like they don't have as much right to say anything. So did they kind of struggle? Are you guys able to talk about it?
I know the one, Chris, I haven't seen since I've left DART. We see everybody on Facebook, so we'll chit chat, or if we're at an event or something, then everybody kind of sees each other. If we go to like a DART thing, everybody will go and we'll see them. But Stacy's actually the one who drove me, and LaQuana was there too. They were both there in the hospital with me. But, you know, kind of reached out a few times. But whenever you leave a department, you kind of, you know, if you kind of, I don't want to say hide, but you're not as open. You don't see people, so you kind of, you know, break apart and stuff. So I really haven't talked to either one. You know, LaQuana I've talked to a couple of times, but like Stacy, I really haven't talked to in a while. Because I know it hit her really hard. Because she was, you know, should have been down there with me that night. And there's other officers that normally would have been with me. But you try to stay in contact with everybody. And, you know, you'll get a text message every once in a while. Just thinking about you. So that's, you know, pretty much the contact that we all kind of have now.
I think as officers, we need to do a better job. I need to do a better job with my friends and family of reaching out more. And I think we can all do a better job at that. And I want to be better at that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask one final question of you. If, knowing what you know, where you started and where you are now, what would you tell a young officer starting right now what to prepare for and what to expect?
Ooh,
Tough one, huh?
it is. I mean, because I mean, you don't prepare for, you know, a gunfight involving, shoot, I don't know how many departments were there.
It's unprecedented.
I mean, there's. I don't think SWAT. I mean, I've done SWAT training, but I've never been on SWAT. But I know you train for stuff, but I don't think you ever train for that that magnitude. You never know what's going to happen. Just, you know, if you want to be an officer, then, you know, it can hit the fan in a second. I mean, I was eating, and 30 minutes later, I was on my way to the hospital. So you just kind of have to, you know, prepare for the unexpected. And then, you know, if you just take every training, if a senior officer tells you something, don't just blow them off as, you know, oh, well, that's an old head. You know, he doesn't know. We do it this way now. No, because the way they do it, you know, it may save your ass one day. Just any training you can get, take it. And if you find training, do it. If somebody's doing something, or somebody's going to the range, go to the range and practice. You know, get as much training as you can in various things, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what situation you're going to be in. If you leave departments, you know, you may be able to bring something to another department that they didn't know, or maybe a different way or something, or you may be that old head, you know, training a rookie someday.
Misty, I think it's a perfect way to wrap it up. You're an inspiration, you're a warrior, and you're an exemplary example of a woman defender that should not be underestimated. Thank you for everything. Thank you for service, and thanks for coming in and talking to us. I know this isn't easy, but I hope that we were kind and gentle.
Yes, y'all were very gentle to me.
Thank you, Misty, for coming on.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank y'all for having me.
Tune in next week, folks, to ATO Bridging the Divide. For more information about the Assistant Officer Foundation, go to atodallas.org. Thank you, and y'all be safe.
Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. Down when you're lonely, I'll pull you up. Life leaves you heavy when the going gets tough. I'll be your shoulder, together we'll run. Up from the bottom, yeah, we'll rise above. Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far, for the gold and the blue, I'll never give up.